Hey, Pretty Girl Club. Today I'm going to be addressing cringy white men and how some of these guys just want to be pedestalized by women of color. I saw this dynamic happening with the guy that married Jodie Turner Smith. I see this dynamic happening with men on YouTube, such as Cohen Nanik, and I see this happening with lots of other white men just in everyday life who they enjoy the pedestalization they receive and the fetishization that they receive from women of color. A lot of women of color who have inferiority complexes about their own racial backgrounds seek validation from white men because they view white men as conquerors, they view white men as zaddy. They even say that white men have, quote, bubblegum peen. And you can go on to any divestment channel and see women talking like this. They heavily worship and pedestalize anyone that is as white as possible. And there are white men who prey upon that and they enjoy the attention and the validation that they receive from women of color. First of all, dust comes in all shades, so I don't understand why people assume that if a guy is white that he's automatically going to treat you better or that he's automatically going to be a better partner. I personally grew up in a white community, so I've seen just as much dust from white men as I have from black guys. I will say there is a different kind of dust. There's a different kind of abuse or a different kind of flaw that a lot of white men may have versus black guys or men of color. But that doesn't mean that you should just run after anything that's as white as possible because, oh, suddenly your life is just going to be better. If only I had a white man, then my life would be good. No. But I wanted to do an analysis on these white male dating channels, kind of like these dating coaches who really just use their YouTube channels as a way to attract sex partners. These are the men who, they're listening in on the colorism, texturism, featureism conversations. And so a lot of these guys, they understand the inferiority complexes that some women of color can have. And so because they know that you have an inferiority complex, these are the guys who seek to swoop you in and kind of be the white savior, for lack of better words. They have a savior complex because they know that, if I just come in and I give her a little bit of compliments and some attention and validation, her whole life is going to be changed and she's going to suddenly subscribe to me. And I see a lot of black women actually following these guys and actually thinking these guys are attractive. These creepy, squinty-eyed, thin-lipped dudes who are like trying to smolder into the camera and seduce you with their eyes. In my opinion, it's giving predator. In my opinion, it's giving dust. And also, I feel like a lot of people who are not really around the white community, they assume that all white men are a monolith. So they think that whiteness is automatically associated with things like wealth. They think that whiteness is automatically associated with things like being faithful and being loyal. But I've talked about this on this channel before, how white men have been abusing white women since before women of color even had the rights to marry. Who created colorism? Who created racism? And I'm not saying that you can't swirl or whatever. Obviously, I'm the product of swirling, so I'm not against it. I just think that a lot of these women who are a part of the divestment movement in particular can set themselves up to be used and abused, especially when they say phrases like, once you go Asian, your credit gets to raisin, or they call a white man's penis bubblegum peen, or they call a white man zaddy and conqueror, and then they turn around and call men of color apes and stuff like that. I just feel like that is kind of taking it too far. I think that all men should be vetted equally. And I just wanted to get this conversation started because guess what? It is exotical cuffing season, baby. So we are now going to be talking about things like relationships on this channel. So look out for that type of content. And let me know, who do you guys date? Do you guys have a preference? Do you guys take a guy's ethnicity into consideration? Do you take his cultural background into consideration? Because every cultural background has flaws. There's no such thing as a perfect culture. There's no such thing as a perfect ethnicity. There's no such thing as a perfect human being. So how are you guys vetting when it comes to dating? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.